Yeah, well, interestingly, there's still no out there. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, one of the summer signings. He's got this groin issue. He wasn't out training with the rest of them, hasn't been all week. Enri Konsa was out there. We've got some good pictures of him. He's had a week's training now with his teammates. And, of course, there's still another, today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of training to go before the evening kick-off on Monday. So you would have thought that he will be fit and ready to be involved potentially in the starting lineup, but certainly in the squad in the game on Monday night at Villa Park, making his Arsenal debut against the team that he arrived from. Out there also are two players who have been linked with moves away. Ethan Nwaneri is out there training with the rest of the squad, so obviously nothing imminently afoot for him in terms of leaving the club. And Gabriel Martinelli out there as well, training with his Arsenal teammates amidst all the talk of him leaving the club, being available to be sold. Even though he's still only 25, they're going to be getting, it would seem, a decent fee for him, around 50 million. He doesn't want to leave the club, we understand, but he's been told by Mikel Arteta that his opportunities this season will be potentially pretty short in comparison to what he's had in all his time here under Mikel Arteta. And a move to Saudi Arabia seems to be in the offing for him. Interestingly as well, not out there, Gabriel Jesus. We don't know why he's not out there. We'll ask Mikel Arteta a little bit later on today, but does that indicate potentially he could be elsewhere, investigating a move away from the club? He is available. He's got a year left on his contract. He doesn't want to leave the club, but again, he's another one I think the club would let go to bring in funds if the right offer came in, and he's been linked, among others, with Napoli.
Talking point for Arsenal, well, huge today, is Julián Álvarez. What can you tell us about him?
Well, a bit like Jesus, he wasn't at training today. No real explanation as to why. He's said to be ill, have an illness. That's 2 days on the bounce, and he hasn't trained with Atletico Madrid. But I think this will turn out to be another one, a bit like Vinicius Junior earlier in the window. Arsenal been linked with a big player, a top signing, a player that excites the fans, but it will in the end come to naught. That's my opinion. We know that the player wants to leave. We know that he wants to go only, and that's still the case, my understanding, to Barcelona. Barcelona hovering around the €100 million mark, not enough for Atletico Madrid, who the hierarchy have said in any case they're not going to sell to Barcelona. The fee that would get him away from Atletico, if he were prepared to leave for any other club other than Barcelona, is around the €150 million mark. He's got a €500 million release clause, of course. That just is very much a pair of golden handcuffs. That's not the kind of figure, of course, that Atletico would expect to get for the player. But it is one of those that is exciting Arsenal fans. But if you get the music here at the training ground, among the coaching staff, among the players, among the hierarchy, I do really think that it's not one that is going to happen this summer for Arsenal.
Does that feel like an opportunity missed, though, if he is actually available?
An opportunity missed if it was ever really on the cards. I think everybody knew. I've spoken to people in positions of power, certainly involved in the hierarchy at clubs like Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, PSG. They all looked at potentially bringing Álvarez in right at the start of the summer, and all knew straight away that the player would only leave to go to Barcelona. I think Mikel Arteta, if he knows a player hasn't got his heart completely sold on being an Arsenal player, then he also would leave it there. That's not the kind of player he wants to come to Arsenal. Of course, if he could persuade the player that Arsenal is the place, and in the time that remains between now and the end of the window, he gets the right kind of response that the player actually, despite everything that's been said and done, does want to come to Arsenal, then I'm sure he would welcome him with open arms. But as things stand at the moment, the world of football knows that as far as he's concerned, it's Barcelona or nowhere. So I don't think it will reflect on Arsenal's window. They've made some great signings. Obviously, I mentioned a couple of them there in Konsa and Guimaraes. Also, Zolis has come in and absolutely pulled up trees down that left-hand side. So that may be potentially unexpectedly answers that left-hand side problem that Arsenal had. Still, of course, 6 days or so to go, is it? Was it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? Yeah, so they could still bring in another player if they want to, but I think Mikel Arteta's pretty happy with the business that's been done so far. Having said that, of course, there will be players going out between now and Tuesday.
Yeah, is one of those potentially Martinelli? It looks like, Al Hilal have been in for him. And if he does go, does that mean that left wing becomes a priority for Arsenal?
Yeah, I probably jumped the gun a little bit there, didn't I? Talking about the fact that Zolis has been so good. He's been potentially a man of the match in quite a few of the pre-season friendlies. He's done well as well in the Premier League in that first match. So I think actually, no. I think they'll settle for what they've got. They'll settle for him there, unless, of course, the big player, the right deal can be found and be done. But it's looking unlikely at the moment.
Gary, I know you said about players moving on and bringing money, but if you're at Arsenal, you don't want to leave that football club. Not in the position they're in at the moment. But for Gabriel Jesus, I feel like the time has now come for a change, and probably Arsenal and the hierarchy, Mikel Arteta, probably wants to just move him out. I know it's about getting the funds in, but even if they don't get an Alvarez in, I think for both parties, in Gabriel Jesus and for Arsenal, I think the time's come now just to shake hands and move away.
Yeah, he's on a decent wage as well, isn't he? As I say, a year left on his contract. He's had those injury issues too, hasn't he? That's been well documented. But our understanding is that he's not keen to leave Arsenal. He's not keen, for example, to go to Napoli. But I think Arsenal would be very, very willing to see him leave if they could get the right money for him. They do believe, like you, that maybe the time has come for a change for Gabriel Jesus. They need to bring money in as well. But no player ever really wants to leave Arsenal. Of course, there are occasions when things have gone a bit wrong for a player in terms of relationships. But in these days, under Mikel Arteta, players seem very happy at the club. And when they're offered the chance to leave, they have those discussions with Mikel Arteta, who alluded last week to the fact that he's had some difficult discussions with some of these players about their time chances in the first team being limited. One of those is Gabriel Jesus, one of those is Gabriel Martinelli, another is Ethan Nwaneri. And there was a time when we were thinking that Miles Lewis-Skelly would be one of the players going out because he'd done really well in that central midfield role. But of course that was put to bed clearly by Mikel Arteta last week when he said he was 100% staying.
And staying with the transfer market, the spotlight remains firmly on Julián Álvarez, whose future continues to generate serious attention as uncertainty grows around what the next chapter of his career could look like. Álvarez has established himself as one of the most complete forwards in European football, and his reputation is built on far more than goals alone. His movement, intelligence, pressing and technical quality allow him to influence matches in several different ways. He can lead the line, drop into deeper areas to connect play, drift wide to create space, and then arrive back in dangerous positions at exactly the right moment. That balance is what makes him such a valuable attacking player. When space opens up, Álvarez can attack quickly and directly. When a match becomes slower and more tactical, he has the patience and awareness to remain involved without forcing the play. He understands when to come towards the ball, when to run beyond the defensive line, and when to wait between defenders for the opening to appear. His finishing remains one of his strongest qualities. Álvarez is sharp inside the penalty area, reacts quickly to loose balls, and is capable of finishing from difficult angles. He also has the confidence to shoot from distance, which gives defenders another problem, because they cannot simply protect the box and allow him time on the ball. But what separates him from many forwards is the amount of work he does without possession. Álvarez presses aggressively, closes down defenders, and rarely gives the opposition time to settle. That intensity makes him useful in demanding tactical systems, where the striker is expected to defend from the front and help set the tone for the rest of the team. The biggest question now is what happens next. There is constant speculation around his future, but speculation and a completed move are two very different things. Any serious change would depend on Atlético Madrid's position, the level of any potential proposal, and above all, what Álvarez himself believes is right for the next stage of his career. At this point, there is no reason to treat his situation as settled. Atlético Madrid would naturally place a very high value on a player of his age, experience and quality. He has the ability to perform in several attacking roles, he is proven at the highest level, and he still has important years ahead of him. That means any potential negotiation would be expected to involve a major financial commitment. For Álvarez, however, the decision would not simply be about money. The sporting project would matter enormously. He would want clarity over his role, how regularly he would play, how central he would be to the team, and whether the tactical plan would allow him to show the best version of himself. That is what makes the situation so fascinating. Álvarez does not need to prove that he belongs at the highest level. He has already demonstrated that he can handle pressure, adapt to different tactical demands, and produce in major matches. The real uncertainty is whether the circumstances around him will ever align for a significant move to become realistic. There is also a timing element to all of this. Álvarez is entering a stage of his career where every major decision carries long-term consequences. Staying patient could protect his development, while the right move at the right moment could place him in an even more important role and shape the peak years of his career. Until that happens, every new development has to be treated with some caution. Interest can grow quickly, rumours can become louder, and negotiations can change direction in a matter of days, but none of that guarantees an outcome. For now, Julián Álvarez remains exactly where he is, and there is no completed agreement in place. Still, because of his age, quality, versatility, and reputation, his future will continue to be followed extremely closely. If Atlético Madrid's position ever changes, or if a serious proposal arrives that forces the situation forward, the story could accelerate very quickly. The coming weeks may prove important. Álvarez can afford to remain patient, but any genuine shift in his circumstances could have a major impact on the wider transfer market. Until then, he remains one of the most compelling names in European football, and any major decision over his future would immediately become one of the biggest attacking stories of the window.